Hello again, Struck Club. Today I'm finally bringing you an updated version of my beginner's guide, and this one will be split in multiple parts, and I've decided to call it the Ultimate Newbie Guide for Torchlight 3. This is part 2, and you might want to watch the other parts if the things in them concern you. You can also use the timestamps in the description or the chapters at the seek bar of the video to skip ahead to certain segments. The first thing I would like to talk in this one would be fort stuff, all things fort related, or almost all. Here we are in the fort talking about fort stuff. There's a lot of fort things to talk about, such as regular decors that you just use as decoration. There's things such as wardrobes and storage. There's things such as I said, the enchanting earlier, as I explained about it. Then there's the tree of work and monuments, and there's also gathering materials and smelting those materials to make better materials which you can use for crafting stuff. The thing is, with gathering and smelting materials, I'm gonna show you quickly. You can only make tier 2 materials. So let's make this sawmill, and let's go into the sawmill, and you can see I can make planks which are tier 2 materials, and based on how many planks I make, it takes 2 times as many tier 1 materials to make the tier 2, and based on how many we pick, it's a different crafting time. But that's not the main way to get resources from tier 3. It's much better, instead of gathering materials from around the map, around the zones, explorable zones in the story, or the dungeons in the end game, instead of hitting rocks with pickaxes and stuff and chopping down trees, it's much better to do contracts to get those materials already refined to tier 2. So if you don't like gathering, it's optional. Gathering can give you tier 3 materials, which you can't make with smelting, and that's something to consider. So you've got wood blocks, stone rocks, and metal nuggets, but then you have metal bars, stone blocks, and wood planks, and then you have ember ore. You've got, I think, sacred hardwood or whatever it was called, and you've got another one, I forgot what it was called, but there's tier 3 materials which you should be seeing on your screen right now. So let's show you a little bit about building stuff. By the way, you've got a training dummy, such a great addition. You've got a training dummy to test your defense on, and you can do some decent damage. Of course, our pet cannot taunt it. The pet doesn't taunt this dummy, so we can't benefit from that extra damage. I'm not sure why I saw Sonic Pulse on this guy. That might be some sort of a buff, but I did see Sonic Pulse on it. That's kind of strange. But yeah, you've got that dummy. So let's show you some buildings. What can you do? Here you can see your inventory, the things you have bought, the things you can use. Then you've got decoration, which is art, flooring, furniture, nature, odds and ends, structures and walls. And eventually you unlock different designs by completing contracts or by doing other things. Contracts can give you 4 decorations or 4 decoration bundles that give you random ones of a specific one. Under functional, you've got crafting, adventuring, and monuments, and skill stations. The skill stations are where you respec, and you've got one for each class. Then you've got under storage the pet shelter and wardrobes. And wardrobes is something that we will talk about in a moment. Now let's quickly just show you some of the other things here. You can see this presence of the Mana Guardian costs a comet fragment, which is the tier 3 stone. And you can see that's one of the reasons why you might want to gather some resources to get those. If you really care about the fort, it's a nice way of killing some extra time when you are bored of grinding and farming enemies, and you just want to tap into your creative side. See, this one requires sacred hardwood. And yeah, there's a lot of things you can do with your fort, a lot of things you can place, a lot of things you can experiment with. So it's decent. I hope many of you enjoy this side of things and just experiment and do certain fort things. You can build tents, big massive tents that contain whatever you wanna put inside the tent. So yeah, I'm not gonna go into detail. Let's talk about monuments. Monuments are different. Probably everyone's favorite monument would be the work tree, which can give you 1% per level up to 5% gear work. And the way you level up the gear work, the work tree, is by feeding it items. The better the item, the more it can give you. You can see from green items I get 18, from blue items I get 56 regardless of the level, and from legendary items I get 668. So of course at the end where it becomes a little bit harder to level it up, you might want to feed it some legendary items you think you won't need for outs. It's not that much, but 5% gear work is it's not bad. It's 5% out of 100. 100 is the limit, so it's a definite nice addition to your gear work. Now here is the Breaching World Gnasher. This one can give you up to 5% fire defense, 1 per level. As you kill goblins, you get Goblin Fury. And you feed it Goblin Fury and it levels up. Then we've got the Functional Fortunato. And this one you level up by feeding it Automaton Gizmos. So you feed it Automaton Gizmos and you see how those change. Visually they change. They become a little bit shinier, bigger. The tree of work, for example, grows from a sapling to a nice majestic tree. And then there's the Hiveitsbane growth, which you level up by feeding it Hiveit paste, which you get from Hiveit enemies. So yeah, there's a lot of things you can do. In general, this one gives you gold work. This one gives you poison defense. So that's kind of how those things work. Now enough about the monuments. We can move on to wardrobes and storage. Storage wise, you get 4 stash tabs when you start. 4 stash tabs of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so 20 slots, which is a total of 80 slots. And each item always takes 1 slot. Then as you complete certain contracts or certain quests, you get, actually you start with 3. Pardon me, you don't start with 4, you start with 3. And then as you complete Act 1, you get, for the first time when you complete it on an account, you get 1 extra storage tab. When you complete it for the second time, second extra storage tab. And when you complete, when you complete Act 2, you get a second storage tab, and when you complete Act 3, you get the third storage tab extra. Then you have extra storage tabs in the contracts. So each contract can give you 1 storage tab once. So you can get 3 plus another 3 from Act 1, 2, 3, and another 3 from each 3 contracts for a total of 9. We used to be able to get 10. 10 is the limit. I'm not sure how we can get 10. We can probably no longer get 10, which is 20 items less. So just showing you here where the extra stash tabs are, around level 29 on each of the contracts. 39, level 39 on each of the contracts. You also get additional character slots, but more about contracts in a moment. So and that's it for the shared stash tabs. You can get up to 9 in theory right now, but the limit is 10. I'm not sure if you can reach that limit. Now let's talk about storage wardrobes. Wardrobes are statues. Statues that are exclusive to your class, and only your class can access those. So you just make one and place it on the ground. I'm gonna make one that's not for my class, just so I can show you. So you can see I'm gonna make a Realm Master statue here and another one there, and I can click on it and it's gonna tell me wrong class. And I can click on this one, which is for sharpshooter, and you can see I can swap everything and get a full set equipped or I can just swap one item at a time. So that's how you use it, extra storage. You can swap only armor, you can swap only weapons, you can make it a female statue or a male statue based on what you want. And yeah, you can also see what's equipped on that statue one way or another. Of course, the different material, in this case terracotta, in the case of the Realm Master one I made, the chiseled, will slightly change the material of the armor, but you can see that the armor equipped changes. So I'm gonna show you here. Look at the legs. Look at how the legs look like. And pay attention to the boots of this statue. It had spikes. It's probably no longer gonna have spikes if I remove this. See, no longer having spikes. And let's equip those again. And you can see there's a slight change. This one looks a little bit different. This one has the spikes. So even though it's terracotta, it still looks like the armor you equipped on it. So from distance, it's a little bit easier to tell the weapons because they are not in that material. They are the weapon the way it is. And if they have some glows, you could tell them apart easily. But you can make a lot of those, and you can make, in most cases, there's a limit of 2, some cases there's a limit of 1. Such as, for example, there's 4 pieces that let you build a ship. You have Realm Master, Sharpshooter, Disc Mage, and Forged. Some of those, I think all of them you unlock from doing contracts. And they let you build a ship by placing them one next to the other. There's things like this one that look like this, and in most cases, as you see, a limit of 2 from this one. A limit of 2, limit of 2, limit of 2. So let's say you have 2 terracotta for one class, and you have two chiseled for one class, so that's 4. And then you have 2 jungle, so that's 6. And you have 2 bronze, that's 8, and 2 clock cleaner, that's 10, and 2 of the ship ones, that's 12. 12 for each class, so that's 4 times 12, and you get 48 full storage sets. And then if you consider the 2 times 4, the extra 8 hardcore ones, 2 for each class, for hardcore only characters, you have a lot of storage to deal with. So storage wise, I think they've got us covered for a while. They can always expand on this by making new storage options. There is something that everyone has been wondering about recently, I guess, and that's the end game. What is the end game? It's called the Fazeer's Dungeon, or the Fazeer's Dungeon Challenge, as you might see it called some places. So the Fazeer's Dungeon Challenge is a set of challenges, and you unlock it by completing the story. And even if you play an out still needs to complete the story before they can access this. An out would need to finish Act 3 to get access to this. So you finish Act 3 on your first hero, you go to Travel Point, which is Act 1's town, and then you get an item that becomes this thing in your fort. Which would be here in your fort inventory. Then you place it, put it wherever you want, rotate it however you want, and then interact with it. After you do so, you're gonna be greeted by this screen, which is basically you're gonna have access to level 1, challenge level 1. This is 251 challenge levels, and it gets harder and harder and harder, and people are saying that after level 100 it stops getting harder. Because at first it only had 100 stages, then by the time it was ready they added another 151 stages just to artificially increase the number of levels past that point. I think it would have been much better if it was just 100 stages, but I like that it's not really endless. I like that there's an end to it, and I like how it is at the moment, but there's certain things I don't like. It's not motivating me to play it at all. You don't get any special rewards other than bragging rights, and bragging rights are not enough to make me want to do a certain endgame point, because not everyone cares about their EP and how long and thick it is. So yeah, let's talk about what this is. First of all, you click on the challenge level 1 because that's the only one you can do, and there will be a specific fixed maps. The first time you click on challenge level 1, it's always going to be the same maps. And you would see the element of the enemies to expect: poison, fire, or let me show you, physical, and sometimes you would even see electric, like this. So when you see this at the top, that represents the element: poison, fire, electric, physical. What did we miss? There is no ice when it comes to enemies yet. Act 4 maybe. You never know. So yeah, you select a map, and each map would have a negative modifier at the top and a positive modifier at the bottom. And it would be different. As you keep pushing further, you're gonna see different sets. And once you complete challenge 1, you go to challenge 2. If you die on challenge 2, you go back to 1. If you die on 3, which is a boss fight, you go back to 1. If you finish this boss fight, you unlock your next checkpoint and waypoint, and that's gonna be 4. So once you complete 4, you go to 5. Once you complete 5 to 6, and so on. If you die here, or here, or here, you go back to 4. And you can see something that changed. Nimbo. You see Nimbo here. So if you see, the first one doesn't have additional rules, so no additional negative affixes. But now any map I take on any of those 4 challenges would have Nimbo applied to it. So regardless what card I pick here, it will be Nimbo Cursed Relic, or Nimbo Spiky, or Nimbo Oops All Traps, along with the corresponding positive affixes at the bottom. And this thing, at first you start with just having one modifier, which changes. You get Nimbo, then Berserking, then Double Health, then Blazing, then you get Plaguebearer, then you get Stormbringer, then you get Netherwell, and so on. And eventually those become 2, and eventually those become 3. So by the time you're fighting the hardest content, you're gonna have 3 negative affixes on top of the negative affix of the card you select. But the positive will always be 1. So they kind of nerfed something, but for a good reason. They nerfed something called Infamous Uniques farming. Infamous makes every single enemy that is a champion drop double fame. And uniques used to make every single champion spawn be a unique, which is the one that drops the most fame. And by farming that, you could get a lot of fame, and you could get a lot of rewards from the adventurer contract, which could give you legendary gear bundles, and it can no longer. They replaced the legendary with a greater gear bundle, and they put lesser gear bundles in place of the blue gear bundles. So no more farming legendaries from fame. Keep that in mind. It's not bad, again, it's not bad even the way it is, but right now I don't have anything to motivate me. The way I do is I farm fame to get those rewards, to get Mapworks maps. Because I don't like playing the Fazeer dungeon, but I like playing Mapworks maps. So I farm the Fazeer dungeon to get Mapworks maps, and then I farm the Mapworks maps for fun. And the Mapworks portals give you 25 gear luck, but in the Fazeer dungeon you can get maps with 50% gear luck, so some of you would prefer to farm the 50% gear luck maps. So the good thing is, once you complete a map, it resets. It rerolls all the map affixes that you can get. I think the only thing that doesn't reset is the latest one, which you still haven't completed. But everything else that's green, meaning you have completed it, once you finish a map, regardless whether it's a boss or a full map, it rerolls those. So if you don't like certain affixes and you can't find something you like, you can just do anything quick, like a quick boss run, and reset them, reroll them until you find that. For example, let's say you're farming gearwalkie maps and trying to get items, but you're not seeing any gearwalkie map, and you just want to make sure it appears, then just do a quick boss fight, and you will be able to reroll it. And oh, look at that, 3 gearwalkie maps. And once you click something, let's just show you what happens. Once you pick a card, you go inside and there's gonna be a map, which you kind of need to clear out. You need to beat the enemies, and at the end of the map you're gonna reach a boss fight. You kill the boss, then you wood a chest. Sometimes there will be a pet chest, sometimes there won't be. If there is a pet cage, you can rescue a pet and hope to get a certain one. Keep in mind, specific pets only drop at level 60 or higher. There is no higher right now, but you have to be level 60 to get certain pets. And each map would have a certain quest. In this one, it's to kill skeletons and to collect the tablet of Et Tu Yaya. And you can see the monster damage, monster health, and monster speed is increased. How does this work? After you beat level 15, starting from level 16, the enemies get bonus damage. 0.02 damage, 10% HP, and 2.5% monster speed per level, all the way until level 100. Which means 0.02 times 100, 0.02 times 100, 10% times 100, and 2.5% times 100. So 250% monster speed. What's that? 1000 monster HP percent, and the monster damage goes to what, 2% only, or is that 20? I think it's 2%. And I think this monster damage was too overpowered before, that's why they nerfed it, but it's also possible that it's a bug. It used to be 0.5% monster damage, so that's 25% less monster damage than before. From 0.5 to 0.02 per level, this is a huge change, and it might be a bug. So if you wanna push your Fazeer's dungeon, take this opportunity to do it while it's still at those values, in case they are a bug and they will get changed. I hope they don't get changed, but if they do, expect it, and don't be surprised when they do. I've warned you. So I'm not gonna complete this map, and since you can't make portals, the only way to return is either through the place you came or going to character selection. So what happens if you fail a dungeon? Well, there's two things that are negative. You have the DP, the double punishment. And the DP that this dungeon does to you is like any other DP, it's gonna be bad for you. First, you lose your chance to revive. You can't revive in the map. You go back to the fort. So you have only one life. Second, as I mentioned, you lose your progress and you go back to your waypoint. If you had 16 as your waypoint, you go back to 16 from this one, or this one, as I said. And again, you only have one life, so I'm not a big fan of this. It can end up losing you a lot of progress, a lot of precious time. So hopefully they maybe consider changing certain things in regards to how this works, maybe give you different lives inside it based on the difficulty, or maybe remove the whole thing where you're going back to the checkpoint and just be able to repeat the map you've tried, maybe with different affixes. In any case, the Fazeer's dungeon is not bad as a system, and with some polishing, some rework, some rebalances, and some rewards, it would be great. One idea for rewards would be to get blue and legendary gear bundles. Let's say each time you complete a boss, you get a gear bundle. Maybe the first boss, the second boss, and maybe even the third boss can give you blue gear bundles the first time you complete them, and then the next one could be legendary, and then you can re-roll back to 3 blue and then another legendary, and as you complete that, you can get that. Another thing that they will be adding to the Fazeer's dungeon is a set of items that would be armor set, and it would be only droppable in the Fazeer's dungeon, and it would be something every hero can wear. The same way the Woods Beast from Act 1, the Skittering from Act 2, and the Arc Power from Act 3, everyone can wear those. It's not class specific. You're gonna have items that only drop from the Fazeer. That's gonna be a kind of a motivation to do it, and Whether it's gonna be enough, well, everyone would want to see what it is, how it feels to play this one, but I would still like to see more motivation, more stuff that would push me towards wanting to play Fazeer opposed to something else. I would also want to see more endgame, because one endgame mode may be enough for the first 2-3 months of a game that has just launched, but eventually people will get bored and want more, and the developers know this. They already said that they're working on something, and soon we'll be able to reveal some more details about the upcoming new changes to endgame and additions to the endgame. So what else I would like to see is I would like to see some other things about the Fazeer. I would like to see specific drops for each challenge level. So let's say I'm doing challenge level 16. And let's say regardless what map and what boss and what enemies I fight, I have higher chance of getting item X. Let's say Bomb Walker. And let's say I finish that one and I just keep redoing it until I finally get my Bomb Walker. And let's say they make level 17 be tight with the Bone Razor. And I just keep repeating level 17 for the Bone Razor. And even help friends of mine who want to do level 70 and get Bone Razor together. Then let's say level 18 could be something like White Wolf's Cave Breaker or whatever, regardless of what you're fighting. That would give people incentive to repeat certain levels past the level they have done. And you have right now 111 items with a few more coming. There's a great sword coming. You're gonna see a picture of that great sword on your screen. So you have 111, and there's the bird's eye for the forge that has been removed and probably is coming back after I rework. So eventually you're gonna have 113, and with the new set of item, maybe 119 items with the new set. So they're gonna keep adding new legendaries bit by bit when Michael has figured out the right skills to put for each of those items and so on. But in general, the system can just grow as long as they don't make power creep, where a new item comes and you don't want to use the old items because the new item is a better version of those and makes the old obsolete. So as long as they add new items that allow you for a new playstyle, that opens up new builds that are just as good as the old ones but different, then we can have a lot of fun with the new things. So that's it kind of for the end game. Next we're gonna talk about something else. After talking about the end game, it's the perfect time to talk about contracts. You're gonna do end game and you're gonna get fame. And fame is something you get regardless of where you are, as long as you kill champions, which can be the purple elites, the yellow legendary enemies, or the green uniques. And based on your difficulty, that's something the game doesn't tell you. You get more fame on higher difficulties. Ridiculous gives you 3 times the fame of practice. So from the lowest to the highest difficulty, it's triple the fame. The game doesn't tell you this, and I think it should, when you're selecting a difficulty, tell you that the fame changes. There's a lot of things that the game doesn't tell you about difficulties, how your damage gets reduced by 70% on ridiculous compared to normal and practice, things like that. If you read patch notes, you would know it. If you don't, you wouldn't, and it's good to put that somewhere as an additional window that people can open while selecting a difficulty with all that that information, all those numbers. So contracts you earn by getting fame. Once you get 333, you get a level. There's 3 types of contracts that give you different types of rewards based on the type of contract. See the craftsman contract, you can probably guess it's more about crafting resources and stuff like that. Each of the contracts has things like receptacles, gear bundles, essence bundles, resource bundles, one-time rewards such as statues, fort decorations, and other good things such as the character slots. Each of them has 1 character slot and each of them has 1 shared stash tab. And once you reach level 40 on a contract, you have a repeatable loop of 9 contract levels for each of them. So you do the 40 rewards that are one shot, one time only, and then you start doing contract repeatable whoop rewards. Each one would give you different rewards, and as I said, there's MapWorks maps, MapWorks portals. This one gives you gold work. This one gives you harvest work in the repeatable whoop. And the adventurer one is the one for gear work, for farming gear. So you can get this with the 25% gear work. So yeah, you would probably want to start with leveling the adventurer contract, and if you don't want all the other character slots, stash tabs, and decorations, you can just stick to the adventurer contract. You can at any time switch between one and the other. You can always continue where you left off. You don't lose the progress by switching. So keep that in mind. And that's pretty much it. The number you see here is the number of times you have done the endless whoop. So 18 times means I've done 18 times the endless whoop, and gotten from 1 to 9 and back to 1. So yeah, I'm gonna leave it to you to decide which one you wanna do. It's up to the person again. I strongly suggest, if you want shared stash tabs and more character slots, to just do each of them to 40 and then maybe pick whatever one you like. Like for me, I prefer doing the adventurer contract for the whoops. So that's pretty much it. How is the fame calculated? As I said, you get 3 times the fame on ridiculous. And in practice, you get 25 fame for a purple enemy. On ridiculous, that's 75. On ridiculous, you get 150 from a green enemy, and in practice that should be 50. And I think on ridiculous you get 120, I think, from a legendary enemy, and 40 in practice. I might have mistaken the number for the legendary enemies, but I'm pretty sure about the other ones. I hope I haven't made a mistake here and misled you, but it's within those lines. So I hope it's clear how contracts work and what they do. Next we're gonna talk about something else. This guide is split into 3 parts. This is part 2. If you want to learn about the things that I spoke in part 1 and part 3, you can watch those parts as well. If you want to get notified when I upload more content, you can subscribe to my channel, hit that bell button, and if you want to be a member of the Struck Club, you can even click on the join button, which is entirely optional. Thanks again for watching the video, keep it cool, and until next time from me, goodbye.